Welcome back to the DreamHack Open November. I'm Frankie Ward, and it is now that time of the day when I deliver important information. Yes, it's time to talk about the ESL Pro Tour and the road to Katowice. So here we go, just a reminder of where the points are at for Katowice. So we can see basically Vitality, Heroic, they're a shoe-in for the event. But if you look at the right column, Spirit, they are still in the running for 100 points here at the DreamHack Open November. So if they win, those points will come in handy because they're then going to DreamHack Masters Winter, where there are even more points on offer. So if they do well at both those events, they could find themselves in a play-in position. Over in North America, it's pretty much decided that Furia will be appearing at Katowice next year, but Evil Geniuses and Team Liquid have got a bit of a points tussle for that direct invite spot, especially as Evil Geniuses have pulled out their next couple of events, while Team Liquid, they are playing a DreamHack Masters Winter next week. So the jury's out on who is going to make that spot, but at least they'll be able to play in if they don't get that direct invite. And let's take a look at the calendar as well. It's always good for you to screenshot this, add it to your calendar app of choice, maybe even write it in a book, because we've got incredible, exciting Counter-Strike events next year. No matter whether they're in an arena or online, you don't want to miss these moments. And we've also got 8 DreamHack Open events still to be announced. But let's talk about the event that we're at right now. And to help me do that, we've got Blair and Vu returning. I'm quite disappointed that Vu has not got his Snuggie out during the break. You had 3 minutes, mate, you know? Just so much time on your hands.
I could have done it.
Yeah, exactly. I never asked earlier. Blair, have you got anything like Snuggly? Do you need that where you are in India?
Hell no. Do you even know me? No.
You might have like a black, like a fake bear rug or something.
No.
No.
I just have like a lot of black t-shirts, I realize. I do need some color in my life though.
You've got red on the chair. There you go. Colour in your...
yeah, I'll take it.
Yeah, exactly. When we get back to LAN, I'll wear some bright shirts and I'll just offend your eyes with my vibrancy. All right, should we get into the map veto? Should we? I think that'd be good. Oh, you know what? We're not actually ready for the map veto yet, but we are ready for our bracket. So let's find out who'll be playing who in the playoffs. So we're kicking things off with Spirit versus Illuminar. The loser goes home. And then our second semi-final of today is going to be Gambit versus AGF. They're both David versus Goliath matchups. Blair, were you expecting these two pairings to be our semi-finals?
Gambit AGF, maybe. At least Gambit and Spirit were the obvious picks, right? To not just make it to the semis, but make it to the finals. AGF, it was kind of a toss between them and Apex. It could have gone either way, but AGF come out on top. Illuminar, for me, they were a bit of a surprise. I honestly felt that Nemiga had a real good chance of taking it. But yeah, it was a very scrappy affair, but they do come out in the end. So yes and no. Spirit and Gambit for sure. Illuminar, a bit of a surprise for me.
Vu, how did you know that Illuminar were going to make the playoffs? Did you like sacrifice a chicken or something?
I did what we talked about earlier. I went on to HLTV and it just, the numbers, they spoke to me. The numbers spoke to me in a way that apparently they didn't speak to almost anyone else,
Okay, Mason.
Not going to point fingers, but they spoke to me.
I like literature, not numbers. I like reading articles. I like listening to interviews. I don't look at numbers. Well, okay, I do look at numbers.
I can't read.
That's fine, because you're really good at playing and talking about Counter-Strike, Blair. I think we are ready for our map veto now. So let's get into it. We're pretty sure, right? We're not going to see Vertigo or Inferno, Blair.
Yeah, for sure. It's one of the weird promo bands coming out here from Illuminar. It's going to be Inferno, Vertigo getting taken out. I'm thinking Spirit might pick Dust 2 here. I'm not necessarily a big fan of Dust 2 being picked as, as your home map in this series, but I feel like that's going to come out. For Illuminar, they don't really have too many options. I'm expecting Mirage. It's a map, it's a bit more puggy. They got that win yesterday. It was very belabored, but they did get it, and they picked Train. Okay. What are they thinking here? Because, look, I like curveballs, but Train against Spirit? Vu, help?
I mean, Spirit did kind of struggle on Train, right? I feel like I've seen them struggle
but that's
on
also them like forced buying themselves into oblivion because they had a massive lead and they were just, I feel like, getting a little too ahead of themselves, which I doubt's going to happen here today. Deciding map, toss-up between, I don't know, Overpass or Mirage.
Ooh.
Okay, all right.
That's interesting as well.
I think it's Illuminar logic, isn't it? Because they don't really play Vertigo, and yet they picked it against Amiga. So I feel like they've just looked at HLTV and they've gone, oh, well, they had a close scoreline on Train against, was it Flow? It wasn't Floscola, it was Apex.
It was Apex.
Apologies. And so they've probably gone, wow, if they had a close scoreline against Apex, then we're better than Apex, so we'll be absolutely fine, lads. Let's pick it.
I hope they watch the demo because it was a weird game.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was some pretty good gameplay from Apex that got them there, but I mean, Spirit.
It was Jacob though, right? Like he's running on
100%.
on the CD side.
Jacob got a couple of huge round wins.
Guys, they've all been pretty weird, to be honest. A lot of these games have been pretty weird. But yeah, looking at the stats on Train, maybe Illuminar, they're like, well, we played it one more time than Spirit in the last few months. And if you look at that win rate for Spirit, actually, it's not as high as you might expect. And Spirit, they're kind of the favourites for this tournament. So Illuminar, I guess they're just clutching at whatever they can grab. So we're going to ask you guys in Twitch chat to let us know who you're thinking for this one. #Spirit or #IHG. I mentioned this yesterday when we had Illuminar versus Namiga. I love that we've got the Polish fans and the CIS fans in chat because you guys are some of the most passionate in Counter-Strike. So welcome. Thank you so much for joining us, and we'll check in with your results shortly. But before then, we're going to check in with lovely Magix, the oldest man in Counter-Strike, maybe.
Them, as Apex may assume that a rotation is coming into play. It may force them into a desperation push through onto long side, and they're walking into the trap. The spider's web of Mia, and he devours them whole. It's all down to Jacob, but not.
No, there was nothing tough for us. No hard questions to deal with during these games. Like the only bad thing that happened that we were struggling on our picks that shouldn't happen. But we'll fix it as soon as possible, I hope, and we'll be playing players better.
As the only B defender and Jacob having to rotate in through the window, it's going to be a tough haul tonight, this balance.
So many banana peels that Apex have to try and bypass and not slip and slide, and they've done just 12 seconds to go. There's a molly in there, but Marcelio's push loses so much HP. Iris Balance misses that shot. That looked dead on to me.
We are feeling confident that we can get even more during this tournament. It doesn't matter who are we gonna face there in playoffs. The main thing is to win the rounds during the map. We are feeling confident about winning this tournament. We can do it, yeah.
I have never heard fake Star Wars music used in a frag movie in Counter-Strike before, but I'm absolutely loving it. More of that, please, DreamHack. All right, then, let's talk more about Spirit. This team has done better on their opponent picks than their own. Vu, why do you think that is?
I think they've been kind of toying around with some of their picks in this tournament. Magix, earlier we saw an interview, I think we saw this in day one, where he was talking about, he was clearly interview prepped, he was trying to be nice to the opponents, but he goes, this is going to be a warm-up. This is going to be a warm-up. I think, he did mention in an interview afterwards that, when they picked Nuke, they were trying some things out, kind of limit testing, seeing what they can do. And I think that's kind of what's happened, and they're going to show up here against Illuminar and show them that they are here to get business done.
They were winning opening duels on Train against Apex, but they weren't always converting those into a round win on Train, Blair. Why do you think that was such an issue yesterday?
Oh, because of Jacob. That's about it. Like on Train, they get the opening picks, an immediate response from Jacob. For example, I remember this one round where they get a couple of picks towards outside, and Jacob's playing Pop Dog, and just goes up the ladder. It's a very risky play, but he goes up, he gets 2 kills on the 2 Ts who are floating towards brown halls, and this happened multiple times in different parts of the map. And you know what? Looking at the individuality coming out from Apex, which enabled them to get a very close series there, I feel like looking at the way Illuminar played yesterday, against, I do believe, against AGF. Oh, was it AGF? No, against Namiga. I feel like it could actually work out. Like players like Snacks, you had PHR, we had Mouse, for example. Everyone had their individual moments. So if that's something which they can replicate, which is a hard ask, maybe they could make this a little competitive.
Well, let's hear from their competitors now. We have got the coach of Illuminar, IMD, on the line.
Some more time, and more importantly, he's brought a bit more mystery. Is he inside the fence? But Rias on outside has the spray!
We feel pretty okay. Like the game against Nemiga was pretty close. We made a lot of mistakes, but I hope we already fixed them for like today's matchup against Spirit, and yeah, we will give our best.
Mouse would have to pull off the clutch of a decade to have this, but he's been tagged up. Down to 22 he goes. 1 kill, 2 kill. They're all ready to fall down. And as Mouse lines up more, picks up the MAC-10 as well. This is making it so dangerous. And Jayo, thankfully, he's not peeking out, but the MAC-10 needs a headshot. He's got 1. He could make it 2. Mouse goes in.
So our matchup against Spirit, obviously they are like favorites in the series. We like to be underdogs because like there is absolutely no pressure for us. Like they must win against us, so it's pretty okay for us.
2 kills and damage on top. BHR is here. He's the janitor. He's
We take match by match. Like we are fully focused on our today's game, and we don't even think about the finals. We have to beat Spirit first, and then we will see who we face in the final.
IMD, they're mentioning that they made some mistakes they want to fix. He doesn't actually mention those mistakes. Nemiga, they made plenty of their own. Essentially, it was a 3-course extravaganza of exchanging errors. Blair, what specifically do they need to fix the most to win today?
Oh, listen, if I wrote down everything that I saw going wrong in that game, it would have just filled up my entire notebook. Like it's a pretty chunky notebook. It would have just filled it out. I'll give an example. Nuke. Right? It's a map that if you're going to allow Nuke through and you're going to get killed multiple times by the player on top of HUD, round after round after round, not using a single Molotov, that's a big problem. And you look at Train, it's not like Mirage, it's not a Dust 2, it's a map where on the T side especially, you need to have the right protocols, you need to have basic utility awareness and knowledge, and if that's going to be lacking, you're going to get wrecked, you're going to get destroyed. Hopefully they've done their homework, so let's see what happens. I mean, they picked Train after all.
And V, you had a look at the stats and you found out that their top 3 fraggers from their last few matches have also bottom fragged in their last few matches. It seems like they're swapping around who wants to be the star player here. Like, what does that tell us?
It's almost kind of like the VP experience. You know, they've had all 3 of the players that top fragged on a map in their previous series also bottom fragged in a map, and some of them pretty egregiously so. If they can find some level of consistency, I mean, Snacks is the only one that's truly consistent. You expect Snacks to show up here, especially on Train. I think part of the reason they picked it might have been how well Dennis did with that second op on Train for Apex. Lots of openings left, and those are maybe something Spirit tries to clean up, but I think that's going to show Snacks doing quite well here.
I mean, Spirit, though, they've got magic, so he can secondary AWP. He told us in an interview yesterday, if he's got enough money to buy an AWP, he's going to buy one. So Train, we're going to see quite a few big greens, I believe. Let's check in, though, with your predictions after that conversation. Blair, who are you going with?
Have to go with the favorites. I'm not someone who believes in fairy tales. I just believe in cold, hard logic. Spirit has to take this. You know what? 2-0. They're going to take Train as well.
Okay. Boo.
Well, you know, Illuminar does have, you know, Snacks on the roster.
Boo,
really very tenured players. 2-0 Spirit. It's over. It's over. 2-0.
All right, Twitch chat, what are you saying?
Stop talk, analyst.
Twitch chat.
That's what it says.
Twitch chat.
No?
Oh my lord.
Okay, that's not for real.
We're the CIS guys. Why are we only polls?
That is not for real. I'm gonna get the casters to correct. That can't be for real. And if it is, all right then, Jinkoye, thanks for joining us. We'll be back after the break with the wonderful Tombiz and Vince.
Hello, ladies and gents. Welcome back. It's another day of excellent Counter-Strike. Myself and Tom will be guiding you through our first best of 3, only 2 today, and Spirit take on Illuminar Gaming. I think Frankie hit the nail on the head, Tom. Both games today do feel like a David versus Goliath kind of feel, and I'm not sure about you, but I have my suspicions that this could be quite a quick one in favor of Spirit based off this veto.
Yeah, I think the thing that worries me the most is that, like, obviously it looks like Illuminar have gone for a little bit of a punish pick going into Train. Like, it's a map of one that they're relatively happy to play, but still one of their lower end maps in terms of not only win percentage, but also just the amount they play in general. And the real weakness we saw coming out from Spirit was actually their T side. Well, they got 11 rounds on their CT side, and that's where they get to start.
Kicking things off on the defense. Did have a vast lead at one point. Looked as though they just run away with it, as we expected yesterday. Things got a little bit sketchier. That's been a reoccurring theme on Spirit. I was interested to hear that Magic said that he didn't feel like there was any real problems, and any problems they did have, they've already resolved. So we'll see if that ends up being true. Chopper takes some damage from the P250 at range, but it's Idis balance from Connector, who feels probably like he should have done a little bit better. No kills go his way. He gets destroyed alongside Chopper, and already Illuminar on the site, 3v5 post-plant.
Yeah, they definitely should have got a kill in that transition already. And Mao's getting very aggressive, taking deep control. In fact, he's got teammates backing him up as well. But Some Young is going to start things off. Snacks with his P250 in hand, already getting a couple of assists, but finally gets his first kill onto the board. Nice shots coming out from Magic's, though. And he actually expects the player coming in from behind, but unfortunately this time he's not going to hit the shots. And what is going on today? Are they firing blanks? So many shots being missed in the last few moments by the side of Spirit, and while the time is picked too far, there's nothing the Mir can do other than scurry away. He'll get the final kill eventually, but maybe they haven't fixed every single one of their problems, Vince, because that was not clean at all.
No, it wasn't. I mean, I'm quite surprised that in a 3v5, they even took it down to a one-on-one and they ended up killing all the players. I thought it would be a complete open and closed case, but still losing those first 2 players with Idis balance, missing a whole bunch of bullets from Connector, a little bit concerning. Still super early days in this best of 3, so not going to get too carried away. But we do have 3 scouts in play, Tom. We saw this yesterday on Train. Is a bit of a head turner, makes some sense, but Mao's already dealing with the threat that was Some Young.
Yeah, the problem comes down to this B site. I think if Illuminar go in this direction and get an afterplant, this triple scout really relies on their opponents making some really stupid mistakes to actually throw that round away. The A site, I think, definitely has the opportunities when it comes to the openers, but it's a tough sort of situation to win, and Chopper, well, evidently trying to go and retrieve that scout, has actually given up the site. The rest of the players pushing in, an afterplant position looking inevitable, and they are cleaning this up very easily.
Bit too comfortable after the full-on force. Hasn't really yielded too much, but now Magic is punishing 2 headshots? That second was so quick. Still 3 players to deal with, mind you, so as stylish as those frags were, it's still very unlikely he gets anything further from the round. Maus makes sure that he kicks the round off and finishes it too with a 3K, 2-0 start and Spirit's economy in the bin. But some nice shots there. Magic's again showing why he does love those scope weapons when he can get his hands on them.
Oh, the polls in the Twitch chat have obviously dominated when it came to the Twitch vote. I do want to bear in mind, we do have a Russian stream, right? So it's probably, if we ask the same question in the Russian stream, I think Team Spirit might have a little bit more of a chance of actually winning that one. But we know that the Polish fans always come out in full force, and I'm sure they're backing their boys here. Of course, you've got Snacks from what is it feels like a long time ago since we've sort of spoken about that legendary roster. Not seen him too much, and obviously Bialy's playing off in another team. They've all sort of separated. Pasha even has his own version of Team Liquid now that he plays with some younger players as well. So we've seen them almost spread out across different organizations. Well, for PHR in this round, he's actually just gone in with a straight P250. 3 Zeus purchased as well for Team Spirit. So if we don't at least see one player get shocked, I'm going to be disappointed.
Magic's actually one of those players with the Zeus decides to go aggressive, which is a little bit odd. You may get that dream fulfilled. Idis Balance knows he's out of range for the taser, switches to the USP, cost him his life, and it seems like it will be a pretty clean affair. Sumdai Young using the ladder as his hidey hole. Up he goes, he's whiffed. No kills, Tom. Let that disappointment set in.
Not happy. Really not happy. There were opportunities there, but I felt like each player there was like, like somebody jumping over their head or just getting into a good position. But this is where things get truly terrifying. As said, when we saw them play versus Apex, they only managed to get 4 rounds on the T side after what was actually a pretty damn good CT half. And this double AWP was a big part of it. Magic's, I think, is, well, in most other teams, I think he could easily be primary AWPer. It's just that Idis Balance is so damn good, you're not going to take that gun away from him. And while luckily, on a map like Train, you get both.
Yeah, it does really make this team quite the powerhouse, the maps like Train and Dust 2, which we will be seeing first, regardless of how this best of 3 comes down. Reeks has been able to get around the back. He moved into Ivy. They've completely given up Ivy control, and it's mind-blowing to me that Spirit don't realize this is a possibility. Now they've found out firsthand just how real that threat is, as 3 separate players from Illuminar go in and open their account in round 4. This after Spirit have been waiting and biding their time for a buy, and it's a complete collapse again. The Poles are in prime position. Post plant comes up, and they'll be desperate to just hold on to this open M4. But considering that there's still a Mac 10 in play, why wouldn't Reets go on the hunt?
Yeah, this round was a horrible one for Team Spirit. Like it's a position where I almost feel like they didn't communicate properly, because you know the smoke's gone down on Ivy. Chances are your opponent's not just going to sit there behind the smoke. Like, why would you just leave that completely open and not actually rotate anybody in to try and pressure that angle at all? I don't think I've seen that really ever. Just so comfortable in the way they walked out. And if you're getting killed while you're in connector by a Mac 10 and that player hasn't pushed out of A main, you've made a catastrophic mistake. Obviously, props to Illuminar. It's possible that maybe they spotted that weakness previously, but I'm pretty sure in the past, at least, Magic's a lot of the time will have that area unlocked. So I don't know. Something's gone amiss in this round. Team Spirit, as you said, like they had that interview previously where Magic's, he sort of said, we didn't feel like there was much to fix other than our map choices. Well, this was one of the maps they chose last time. They haven't chosen it this time, so he's got no excuses anymore.
Still maintaining the Mac 10, our Illuminar. Still plenty of cash. It is flowing. Team Spirit at least can rummage together another buy. 2 players already with 0 utility and only a flashbang on Mia. 1 smoke, 1 incendiary with a minute 25 to spare. Illuminar hot off the back of kicking this match off in such fine form. Idis Balance yet to get on the scoreboard. With the AWP, may get tested as 4 of the 5 members of Illuminar clumped together outside box hall. Smoke's about to be thrown in. 2 of them tossed into play. Molly behind it. Smoking off, Idis Balance wants to try and get aggressive, decides better of it. Chopper's watching the upper side from the box halls, and now in come the T's. 55 seconds left, and they are going to charge straight down the throat of Team Spirit. Idis Balance just catches a glimmer of a pixel around the side of Catwalk and converts into the kill. And maybe this is finally where the favorites stand tall. Snacks, though, forever on the lurk, will be getting round the back of Spirit. And you feel like he is the main part of the puzzle they're going to have to contend with. If he can get himself a couple of frags, as he should do here, they line up for the man, and he knocks them both down. And now their attention is completely cut in half. They have to go and deal with the threat of Snacks, and in doing so, Reeks has moved up close. The time on the bomb, all this while, is ticking away. About a third left. They've got to get on the site right now, and Reeks in the perfect position to deny this. It's looking like it's going to be another round to the T's as Reeks comes round the side, shows his hand, shuts it down, and Illuminar will take the 5-0.
That almost looked disjointed from the side of Team Spirit. They've got an absolute shock with Snacks coming around the backlines, and this is something that you always have to worry about with this man. Like, he's been renowned for these sort of plays for years and years, and again, they just don't seem to be prepared in these situations. Then you get down to that 1v2 situation where it almost seems like Idis Balance just goes, okay, I'm just going to go for the diffusal now. I've just got to take a risk. And this is not the sort of comfortable team spirit we've been expecting. Sure, they started that round off fantastically well, but one big play coming out from Illuminar is enough to put them down. And I think that's what we need to see from the polls. Let's be real. If we look at this statistically, if we look at the teams on paper, everything points to team spirit winning. But this is something I've learned in the past of Polish Counter-Strike is you can never truly count them out. Like I still remember going to V4. We had like an Inform, the old version of Mouse Sports, facing off against like a new look VP, and they managed to beat them to get to the final. And I was just sat there shocked. Like, how have they done this? Now, sure, VP on LAN were always a very, very different beast no matter the iteration. But the thing is, there isn't LAN anymore. So we've got to stop talking about that. This is the biggest tournament we've seen Illuminar play in a while. They've qualified, obviously, through the Polish national championships, and now they're looking to try and take the title.
Does solve the question of those that have asked, where is Snacks been? One of the world's best to a relative obscurity. Shows he's still around, but it's not him pulling all of the players into position. Illuminar, again, doing a solid job. Albeit on a fairly rough buy on Spirit. They had some scouts and pistols, and that's basically it. One of their better chances, though. The last round notwithstanding, they'll feel it probably should have gone their way. Chopper, big. One deke, though, onto Veggie, but Reitz is there to answer the call of his fallen comrade. Now, Some Die Young, using that smoke onto Pop Dog, can try and make a move through, but Snacks and Reitz have a good idea as to where he could be residing. At least gets one shot off. You feel like it had to be a frag, though, Tom. The second that Reitz walks away with 61, the round was pretty much summed up. 6-0 start. This is pretty ridiculous.
Yeah, once they know where he is, there isn't really much of an opportunity for him to make a play without doing something utterly ridiculous. But yeah, it was mentioned on the desk that a lot of the time when you get one of the star performers on this Illuminar roster popping off, the other's normally at the bottom of the board. Well, so far that's not been the case. It's only really PHR who is definitely the support player when you look at this roster, who's currently a little bit further behind. And let's be real, they're not going to be too worried about that if the other four players are performing to a standard good enough to take a 6-0 lead versus Team Spirit. This would definitely blow away any predictions. I'll be honest, going into yesterday with the sort of wild match versus Nemiga, I was always going to lean the way of Nemiga, even with a stand-in. I just haven't had the faith in a lot of Polish teams that we've seen over the last few years, but they managed to get this far. They've got off to a flying start, which I think is very important as well. I think to make sure that the mentality stays strong and build into this match and get some of those players that we know historically do have a level to face this team popping off. At the same time, Vince, I'm not impressed with what I've seen from Spirit. Like, this map of Train, it's not looking good enough to beat Illuminar. And bear in mind that they've called this like the practice for Masters. Well, they ain't going to beat any team at Masters on Train if they're playing like this.
Yeah, certainly. I think that's a very fair assessment of the situation, and it's especially concerning considering they said they didn't really feel there was that many issues, and any issues that they have, seeing they've already kind of closed off and ironed out. But it doesn't feel that way. This round, though, does. This is more like the Spirit that we know, putting their two AWPs into play. Both of them have rattled off multiple frags. And out of 20 seconds, they have PHR and Reitz to pretty much do as much damage as possible. May even think about holding on to this AWP and AK. Plenty of finances behind it. As PHR looking to try and get himself busy. Keep in mind the economy of Spirit still not ideal, so any kills here is a bonus. And PHR can only strike once before he falls. And speaking of once, Spirit do get successful, but they're going to have to put a lot more behind this, Tom.
Yeah, the worry as well is, again, thinking back to Apex, who we still have to put the caveat of they were a completely new team going into this tournament. Like I said, I think going into it, they had something like 10 maps on record in officials. So if you look at that and look how close that game was, and also look how poorly Spirit played on the T side, that's where you have to now start looking at 6 rounds on this T side for Illuminar. It's actually very, very good in the early stages. Now, of course, I imagine Spirit, when they were looking back, probably the focus was on their T side rather than their CT side. The issue I find with this team in general, especially on a map like Train, they are super reliant on iDisbalance and Magics to have a good game. Like, they invest heavily into the double AWPs, which, bear in mind, can very easily pretty much tank your economy for the entire game if it's not working. And if those two players don't perform at any stage, they're just going to need hero plays to drag them through this match. So bear that in mind when watching Illuminar here, because if they get 7-8 rounds on this T side, I'm favoring them heavily if anything of the sort happens like it did versus Apex and Reeds. I'm loving it. Just pure aggression, just looking to fight them toe for toe, playing with confidence, which we've already spoken about is key, especially so far in this tournament. The question is there a response from Spirit?
It's such an integral part of CS. I think the mental aspect to CS is kind of underrated and overlooked a lot of the time. Illuminar are feeling very confident, and it's showing in their game style, but they must be careful. Tread lightly. If you get too aggro, you can walk in and give some free kills away, and then the confidence builds for the opposition. We know that Spirit can go from strength to strength, that they really haven't got started just yet. In terms of HP, certainly favoring the Poles, but Chopper has cut them back down to size. PHR on 4 health stands his ground against Mia, and now Idis, Balance, and Chopper have to try and clutch it out. The bomb was dropped, easily retrievable though, and if they so chose, they could try and cut right down the heart of Spirit and rotate to B. And Idis Balance realizes it, so he's changed his position accordingly. Chopper on the flank, forever lurking in the shadows, may not be called upon because Idis Balance then goes for the peak, shutting down Mao's last play on 4 HP. How is he got the kill there, PHR? Chopper should have had that every single day of the week, and now with the open Idis Balance, it actually puts him into a really awkward position. Has he got the call comes through? This player was headshot. If so, he'll be whipping out that sidearm. There's very low room for error. He'll be making a move around the back, checking all these angles, and he does have the USP out, so the vital information has been attained. He has enough time if he gets the headshot right now and has the kit, can jump onto the site and should have this. It's going to be very close, but Team Spirit get their second round. The problem though, Tom, they lose 4 players, and even though they can buy in this round, they're basically going to have no money left.
I mentioned this man, mentioned that they're going to need him to pop off if it's going to work on this CT side. And luckily, that's one of the things they do get quite regularly, like especially alongside Magic's. They're doing quite well. The worry for me as well is that so far, like there's been a few players that seem to have come into this series a little bit cold. Like Chopper there, that was a free kill. Like, let's be brutally honest. That was a free kill. He should have got that all day long. So yeah, a few mistakes being made here and there. They get through it this time, but again, just brute force coming out from Illuminar. No fear to fight versus this Team Spirit side. As many other teams in this tournament have already mentioned, they're the favorites. They're the ones that you have to try and beat. And Illuminar, well, they don't look like they're showing them any of the level of respect they might deserve. The worry for me here is there's some pretty good retake positions currently being held by Spirit. They've got themselves Pop Dog, which is normally so powerful when it comes to after plants, and already looking to peek back in. But Mouse, he gets the first. I don't think he expects the second player to be here. However, with A main under their control, the CT side have decided we don't have time for this anymore. And it's, again, just a fast brute force play out from Illuminar, which wins them around comfortably.
It just feels, Tom, it's one step forward and several steps backwards for Spirit. They finally get some success, instantly just get banged out again with aggression, just unrelenting, up-in-your-face aggression, which I love to see on the T side. And already 7-2 behind, at least saving 3 weapons gives them some options. But we're getting to that point now where saving guns isn't really good enough. You've got to start doing something with them.
The thing that interests me about this round in particular is how Mouse gets that far forward when there's 2 players in pop. It almost seems like there's been so many gaps in the defense so far. Like you look at some of the earlier rounds as well, where sort of players are managing to flank them without them realizing. They take Ivy control without having to fight versus anyone. Like he got all the way to the bomb train, gets the kill, and there's 2 players in pop. Like, how does that happen? How are you letting players get this far? And that seems to be the issue. Like, Illuminar are taking advantage of space that's almost being handed to them by the side of Team Spirit, and that's not normally the case. And a lot of it sometimes comes down to the early utility usage, denying them with incendiaries and grenades. And as you mentioned, they've been taking a hit to their economy almost every single round. But also, it just seems like players that are normally so reliable, like Some Dayoung, for example, or Chopper, are just having a bit of a mare and just giving up way too much space to this side.
Chopper looking to try and take control of the situation, 1-for-1 trade, but does get a lot of valuable information in the process. See the instant reaction, sending 3 players over there before Magix decides he wants to go and join Mia on A, who has taken, I should say, and made his presence felt in A main. So if they do decide to come around the back, he'll have that one locked down. From our perspective, though, we can see the bomb in box halls in only 22 seconds. Suggests that the Poles will be hitting B. May send Mouse out here on a fact-finding mission. Both Orpers rain in with kills, and now Snacks on 13 HP. May be able to get the bomb plant, unless that grenade denies him, which it does. And I was about to say, if he gets the bomb down, Snacks is the kind of player that could pull it off on low HP, but the bomb won't be getting planted anytime soon, and Spirit get their third.
Yeah, the question is are we just going to see another round where Illuminar just decide to run straight into the A site? And they haven't really found a cure for that yet. I don't think Illuminar have particularly been breaking far into their strat book. It's been fairly simplistic strategies that have been working because Team Spirit haven't really been able to shut them down. And you can see now the amount of utility Team Spirit are actually committing very, very early to just try and deny anybody getting out towards Olov, because that has been a struggle position for them. Unfortunately, even with the amount we've seen so far from Illuminar, the amount of rounds they've managed to win, financially, not in the best of spots. And PHR, in fact, is even going to buy into a Deagle Kevlar in this round, just of how poor his economy actually turns out to be. The plan, Vince, though, looks like they're going to want a B plant.
Yeah, which there is definitely an element of logic to it. They've had a lot of success already on the B side, especially when they've gone really aggressive. But Spirit have seen this a few too many times, and as a result, they're positioning themselves accordingly. They have sent away a player onto the A side just so that they can rotate out the superior weaponry of the AK-47 in the hands of Mia. Has that one-tap potential at range, which can definitely be the difference maker. And even though we can see there's only Deagles in play, Spirit didn't have an idea about that up until now, when they hear the Glocks and the Deagles ripping out. And how is this coming into play? It's a 2-for-1 in terms of a trade of frags, and it goes in favor of the Poles. USB's been pulled out, Sax is there to deliver the fatal blow, and now Magix is last man standing. This is a round with Deagles and a Glock, and the exact same sequence comes into play. Spirit, what are you doing?
Blair's going to be bald by the time we get back to the desk because of ripping out all of his hair. Like, this has been ridiculous. That was, and like, we're going into that. Illuminar didn't even expect to win that round. Snacks gets an opening kill with a Glock. This makes no sense. Team Spirit have got into the day telling us that they don't think there was really too many mistakes to fix. And at the moment, I'm not seeing anything even really positive from them. I guess the orbs, but at the moment, they can't even come close to affording those. A huge injection of cash as well for Illuminar. And the Poles are running riot. There is not a round that they cannot win at this stage. A much more slow default coming out from them. I think they've realized, okay, we have definitely just put a real hit onto our opponent's economy. They're even going to take a risky force or go for some pistols. So let's play this one a little bit slower. We don't need to go running into the sites anymore. And the fact is, from this point, they don't even need another round. They've got 8 rounds on the T side, Vince.
Yeah, it's pretty fascinating, isn't it? Because coming into this, we thought, why is Illuminar pick Train? You know, this is a map that historically Spirit are pretty decent on, but clearly they read into a couple of situations from yesterday, and they've done their utmost best to exploit those weaknesses. The exposed CT side is being shown to the world. And as you said, with Masters on the horizon, this is a very poor look for Spirit. It's a clean sweep, expected as they didn't have too much in their arsenal of weaponry. Now they will. But I mean, when you're looking at the best case scenario here, Tom, from winning the next 3 rounds, they've been unable to get really any consistency going, would be a 9-6 on their CT side. This is looking incredibly grim.
Yeah, and unless Spirit put all of their preparation time into working on this T side, this is already looking like it's done. And as said, Illuminar just look like they've been having a lot of fun in these rounds. They've been able to pretty much take any portion of the map that they desire. A change up from the CTs, though. IDIS Balance will take away upper B control, something that hasn't really been contested too much. I think we saw Chopper once or twice almost just throw himself into his opponents to try and gather up information. It gives them the man advantage here. Mir, he's not been bad so far, but I think this A site has been questionable, and we saw him get off to a slow start in the previous map of Train. It wasn't his best map, that was for sure, and he was able to get away with a lot. I still remember a hell of a lot of flanks, like the kill we saw on Dennis with him pushing through. There's been none of that. I don't even think they've had the confidence to take any level of aggression. It's been very standard, very locked into the sites, and just hoping that their individual skill is enough to get them over the line.
Well, so far, if you didn't know much about CS and you came into this, you'd think that Illuminar were the higher ranked team. Remember that Spirit is 16th in the world. They've been getting some great results as of late. Chopper, though, trying to turn this back into the realms of possibility. Stuck on the side, only 5 kills with 40 ADR coming into this round. 30 seconds to play with. He does get tagged by the Molotov. It singes his toes, gives his position away. And Mouse will do the rest with the AK-47. Magic's now coming in alongside Mia, taking 2 separate angles of re-engage, and they have Sundai Young, who is poised for the rotation, poised for the flank. Mia's bypassing the player in smoke. That could prove to be a very important moment in this round, and Reek steps up with the AK, spraying through one, has no idea about the flank, but it's not required because Magic's is there. They don't have the kit. This is going to be cutting it incredibly close, but they should have this underway, dropping down the AWP so they can take both coming out of this round. Spirit get a 4th. Again, though, it's having to come down to a retake, Tom. None of the rounds that Spirit have picked up have really felt comfortable at any moment.
Yeah, I think a lot of that comes down to, I think only really Magix is playing to the level I expect of him. And as we've mentioned a million times, that's perfect. I was going to say he's the youngest on the... He's the youngest on the team, but there you go. Obviously, according to Vu, like I didn't know that myself. He's younger than Stacy's mom. Okay, younger than the song. Okay. Well, yeah, it would be a bit weird if Stacy's mom was also that young. That would be very weird. But yeah, 9-4. As mentioned, Magix is the only one that I would say has been up to like a good standard. Like Balance has had his moments, but again, it's not been to a consistent level. Sumda Young and Chopper, as said, they've been having a mare. And Sumda Young, a lot of the time, is the person playing around Electric Box or in Pop. He's the one trying to deny a lot of those early pushes we see coming into the A site. And that's why Illuminar are having an absolute field day, because they have had an entry on him almost every time. Chopper, why not? It's not been working, pull out an XM. I think that should be a mantra for life.
Hey, listen, sometimes desperate times call for desperate measures. An XM plasters Magic through the smoke, nullifies PHR, puts him on the back foot, and Illuminar actually looking like they're being tested. Finally, Spirit getting some form of consistency, but do not write off the polls. They have been in positions like this multiple times. They came out swinging, but the bomb's now been dropped out. Magix has this round in the palm of his hand, and he will clench, constrict, and crush Illuminar. 5-9, and I think that's the first time we've seen a clean sweep round from Spirit, pardon me.
Yeah, all it took was an XM kill and Magix pretty much killing off everybody else, and yeah, he's been good so far. I can't take anything away from it. Maybe you could sort of question that first round where they managed to get through Ivy, but I think that was more due to the overall Spirit setup than him individually. Illuminar falling a little bit flat, but as said, they've already got enough rounds that it really doesn't matter. They're going to try and go for a faster brute force play once again, just running it all the way down Ivy. The footsteps will have been heard. They know that there's players around this angle, but actually Reitz is going to get the entry onto Mir as well. And in the meantime, this is all a ruse. The bomb is going back towards the B site. Magix at least cuts off one of the rotators, and it looks like Chopper is aware of the potential of this push, needs to kill off this rotational player, and then it would be a fairly easy retake for the team. A 4 versus 2. It all depends on this duel, and Chopper will win it at that. Somehow PHR beats out Sumda Young with a Mac 10. It's not been his day today, but Chopper looking to make this a little bit more awkward, not allowing them to take any more control, will drop snacks as well. And PHR, Mac 10, 1v3. Oh dear, oh dear, oh dear. He's been revealed. The door has faded away, and it will be a 9-6 half.
A 9-6 half that honestly, Tom, could have easily been way more one-sided to the polls, but we'll find out if Spirit can fully come back in our second half after this break. Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen. Spirit conceding a ton of rounds on their CT side, the same side they had quite a few issues on yesterday, but they at least came back with 3 in a row to get 6 in total. And this is still winnable, Tom, but I think we're both still a little bit shocked of what we saw. Should be mentioned as well, though, in amongst all that chaos, Magix was top fragging on the server and was playing some seriously good Counter-Strike. We'll see if he can carry over that form now that they're on the T side.
Yeah, I think, I'm not sure if you got it slightly wrong. They had a good CT side last time. That's why this is even scarier. Their T side sucked. So, if anything, now they go on to the worst side. I'm really worried for Spirit. If they play anything like they did versus Apex, like they were getting pushed by Jacob on the CT side consistently. He was doing a lot of damage. And I think it was Dennis's secondary AWP that owned them almost every single time they went near it. And wow, if we see that coming out of the likes of Snacks as well, it starts to get scary. So Illuminar, for me at this point, are firmly in the driver's seat. It's up to Team Spirit to prove that they fixed their issues from yesterday.
Now Spirit looking to get real aggressive with the Glocks, pushing straight in. Mia taking the point. The spearhead is Idis Balance actually nullifies Snacks with the P250 at range. Veggie now not entirely sure if they're pushing connector. So gets the crossfire established before they look to start to push in. Veggie though now takes the headshot down to 4 HP. And Maus doing his best with the USP is at least going to cut down the T's to size, but they still stand their ground. They still deliver headshots, and Mia comes through with 2 before Chopper nullifies Reeds and puts it down to Maus in a 1-on-4. And I think already he decides, nope, I want to get the hell out of here. What a shot onto Mia that is. But it's a consolation kill at best. Good news for Maus, though, he's lost no HP, no armor, so it would only be $350 to upgrade if he wanted to in the next round, which can take a little bit of the sting away and potentially even pick up a scout. We'll see if that maintains, and indeed it does. So he takes down some Die Young. However, Spirit take the pistol and make it theirs, and now Maus has lost his life in the dying embers of the round. That is rough.
Yeah, the interesting thing there, if he gets that final kill, he could have bought a rifle with the Kevlar he had. So making some extra cash. He's actually going to go for a FAMAS. It might not be the rifle that he necessarily wanted, but it's a bonus nonetheless with a double scout and a few nades to boot. This is definitely not an easy round for Spirit, but one that they desperately need. As said, like, their T side wasn't good. That was the one thing they talked about needing to fix when it came down to the game versus Apex. And I actually expect more on the CT side from Illuminar, because this is a much more well-rounded team, a team that's been together a little bit longer than the side of Apex as well. So Spirit are going to have to almost show a night and day, but it's definitely possible that they do. A very good team, lots of strong individual presence. As you mentioned, Magix has been playing very well so far, and Mir going into the second half on the T side definitely could be someone to take over the game. The worry is, obviously, if Magix then slows down, do you have anyone else to pick up the slack? Because he's actually the top fragger in the entire server, even after what was a fairly poor first half from the rest of the team.
Showing again why he is one of those younger players that is on a lot of people's minds when you look forward to the future of the CIS region. We were discussing about how Gambit have all of this crazy ability. You've got the likes of Mia in the mix as well. With 40 seconds, though, Spirit will be cutting this one close. I say that because they haven't really got any map control whatsoever. So they're banking on this full set play to yield them an 8th round. In the meanwhile, this is where the FAMAS from Maus and all those USP kills he picked up could come full circle. Snacks holding his ground. 20 seconds now. And Snacks loses his head. Mia pushing in. Chopper looking for entries, finds one. Lots of HP is being chopped down from Spirit, but the bomb will still get planted. So without any utility and any kits, unlikely that Illuminar will get this done. At least though they can take a Galil out of the round as they look to maybe save on a couple of these players. The smoke on Ivy may afford them the luxury of pushing through Ivy to save. But whichever way you spin it here, Spirit will be taking an 8th. They are not even interested in going in for this. They're more looking for exit frags.
Yeah, I like the attempt as well by Spirit in the sense of they knew that going into this round there was not going to be much utility to counter them, and going into that A site in the latter stages, chances are there's not going to be a smoke and incendiary even a nade to deny you. So if you have the full smokes available, you can section off the site, get good after plant positions, and it doesn't really give a chance for those scouts, because that was always the issue in the past, is teams never really had those sort of deep back bomb Ivy smokes that you can throw now, where people have basically just got a perfect setup to avoid these scouts completely. So if you're smart in your anti-eco rounds, well, it looks like that. You lose one player, sure, that's a Galil for Veggie, which could cause them some issues going into this round, but other than that, it's almost an identical buy to the last.
Yeah, very similar. Will it be the same kind of outcome? Will Spirit maybe mix it up and get a bit more aggressive? It ain't broke, don't fix it, perhaps, is the call that comes out as Magix gets winged by the scout. PHR coming out way better in that trade. But he has been tagged down to 66, so he now perches up on the train looking into main. Snacks up close. This is an angle that typically will get checked, and this is why a second player is in Ivy. The idea is to try and get the timing peak with a Deagle, draw away some fire, then Snacks can try and pop them in the side of the head if they overextend. Thing is, though, 4 players here from Illuminar. This is a lot of their emphasis and focus that is being taken up and giving away key choke points like main and Pop Dog.
Well, Snacks will still spot the players, I think maybe even including the bomb, are back towards spawn. So the rest of the team, although they have rotated into B, I wonder if that might quickly change, especially with, again, that full nade execution. You can see the back of site smoke, so any cheeky scout around there is not going to be able to do anything. But they've just sectioned this off. The only worry would be if it takes them a long time to get the bomb down, and obviously now the full rotation has come in. Veggie, 8 HP, and well, eventually he's spammed down as well. So again, a very good anti-eco round coming out from Spirit. The only thing to worry about now is damage.
No longer a concern. They only lose Magix, and to be fair, they may want to upgrade to an AWP anyway. They know that Illuminar will have a buy coming up. They decide against it. They keep all their rifles. Keep that economy nice and solid. AWP picked up on Snacks. 9-9, Tom. So after at one point this being 9-3 and both of us being a little bit worried for Spirit, it seems like they have stabilized for now at least.
Oh, this is the first buy we have had come in for Illuminar, so we'll see if this is going to be the continuing trend, if Team Spirit are going to get this straight back into their control, or if there is some resistance. Again, we're seeing a similar style out for Spirit, at least in the form of Chopper. We know that a lot of the times the in-game leader is the one to get a little bit more aggressive. This time, though, Chopper just leading that charge, getting further and further forward. Hasn't really had anybody try to stop him. He comes up in an initial battle. A tag onto Miles almost takes him out. And Magic looking to try and combine through Ivy. A missed shot from Snacks as well. A second missed shot. 2 opportunities to kill off his opponent and doesn't take either of them, leaving Miles low HP, Veggie trying to rotate in through the connector. And note how Spirit have yet to even bring the bomb into play. They could completely switch up their style in this round, even expecting that maybe someone from Illuminar has actually pushed forward and retrieved it. Instead, they're looking to gather up together and try and retake A.
Does feel like the key integral moment of this round was Snacks missing those 2 shots. Could have turned this completely on its head, but Veggie getting one, traded out instantly. Magix providing the Overwatch cover to allow his teammate of Mia to get the bomb planted. Ours has used this opportunity to try and snake round the back. Was last spotted in Pop Dog. So this is an angle they may not expect. Down to 15 HP. I say may not expect. Of course Magix does. The guy is omnipresent. He's got a 4K and 23 kills, for God's sake.
Yeah, no one else on his team is even close. The only reason they are currently in this map is because this man is obliterating anybody that comes into his path. I don't know if he lets out some sort of aura, and that's why Snacks just couldn't bring himself to kill him. But you mentioned it. Those 2 missed shots, well, it not only causes the death of Snacks, but that man then goes on to kill 2 more people. So a real turning point in the round, and you can't give him that many opportunities. So Spirit, they take themselves the lead. Unfortunately, that we're not going to see much of an investment here for Illuminar either. The loss bonus is building up, but you still need to make sure you have all the utility available to them. The other thing as well is one of the highlight reasons Spirit really struggled when it came down to their T side versus Apex was because Dennis was unbelievable with the AWP. So so much so in that latter stages of the game, they started favoring giving the AWP to Dennis over Marcelius, who's the primary AWPer for the team.
Yeah, that's the conversation we had. Like, at what point does he just start to AWP? He's like, listen, boys, I'm having an absolute burner right now. Give me the AWP instead. Did work out well. Snax is a player that's kind of dabbled with the AWP in varying degrees, going back to that classic Virtus Pro lineup. Of course, Pasha was the AWP for a long time, and Snax picked it up for a while. He was the secondary for a while. We know he can use it. Not that you'd have necessarily thought after what we saw in that last round, but he has gone down first. Some Young with his 4th kill. He's had a bit of a rough go of it so far. Player that definitely can frag though. Mouse in the meanwhile puts him down with authority with the deagle. That's at least a rifle at Trey's hands. Reeks up close with the CZ, lands the insta-dink onto Mia, but the AK will prevail. And with 20 seconds to go, it seems like Spirit may be able to snake their way on the site. Mia making sure that Veggie will not deny the bomb plant. So 10-9 will soon become 11-9, and Illuminar yet to get off the mark on their CT side.
Yeah, I think if they lose the next one, that's where we really do truly start to worry. I'll be starting to question whether or not they'll be able to do too much going into this second half. I also question whether or not they'll go for a double AWP setup, because as you sort of mentioned, like when we talk about Snax dabbling in the AWP, sure, there were a few iterations of different rosters where he was a primary AWPer, but I always sort of saw him as like more of a secondary, like somebody who would pick it up on the fly. He's not been fantastic so far in this match. He was good in sort of clutch situations, but it's whether or not he's going to be able to sort of do it to the extent that they need of him here.
Yeah, I completely agree with that. Never really saw him as a proper primary, maybe for a short period of time, like 3 or 4 months. But yeah, it was fleeting at best, and I always felt like he offered more from a rifle's perspective. I mean, this is a guy that at one point was one of the world's best players. Shotgun also works, yeah. He was absolutely up there in the talks of being a top 3 player. There's just no doubt at all. So we know he has that experience. He's been around for so long, but Illuminar finally have something to get excited about. They've got the first pick. They've repelled the initial push from Spirit. They've put them on the back foot.
Yeah, we've seen a few times now both teams do that. Just throw caution to the wind, try and almost throw their opponents off balance with early aggression. Quite a common thing on Train. We know how important those entries can be on this map in particular. Once you lose them, how difficult it can be to get back into the round. Now, there hasn't been much of a challenge for Pop just yet from the CT side, and that's given an awful lot of space to Spirit, which we saw the same problem be had for Spirit when they were on the CT side, just giving up too much control. And to get out to Electric without any real resistance, it's more reliant on the fact that PX was up above. Instant shot from Chopper. But again, there's still a man down, and Mouse looking to put the pain onto this squad. Again, Magix has been able to get out. Question is, will he survive much longer? The smoke has negated his opponent, or he's taken a lot of damage through it.
Definitely feeling the effects of the round. 25 seconds. Spirit again, taking their sweet time. Reeks will finish off the aforementioned weakened member of Spirit, and Veggie goes in again. Sundai Young, as I said before, hasn't had the greatest game. Now would be a great time to step up, and he's done a lot of damage to Reeks. Now has the advantage. Fake flash is tossed across. He can go back in for more. He knows this round is in his favor, and Sundai Young, Death Incarnate, the Spirit Crusher. 12-9, and they continue to dominate on their T-half.
What a way to pretty much step into the match. The fact is, he's just doubled his kills in 1 round. He was on 4 up until this point. He gets 4 in this situation, and yeah, take a tactical pause. I mentioned it at the time that was a round that I feel like was the swing. Like, I would have been worried if we'd seen like Illuminar just get bodied out of that round. Now, it was a little bit closer than maybe it should have been, and if it wasn't for obviously a big clutch coming out from Sundai Young, then sure, it probably would have gone their way, but that doesn't really help them at this stage.
I feel so old, man. I remember when that song came out. I clearly remember it. Why is this my life?
I don't. I know the song, obviously, but I don't think I remember back to the day when it came. When did the song come out?
think they said, what, 17 years ago?
17 years. So
2003?
yeah, I would have been what, 9. Probably not in my repertoire of songs just yet.
Oh, you're lost, mate. You're lost. Illuminar, though, they do have the open. It's on Snacks, and I do love a redemption arc. So let's hope that he can make the most of having it this time. Let's see him pick up an ace. Let's see a highlight classic Snacks moment here, please. Because Illuminar need it. Let's be real here. They have been absolutely decimated in this second half.
Hey, if you're a Spirit fan, good to see, especially going into what will be the finals later if they take this series, and obviously Masters coming up straight afterwards. We want to see this team perform to a high standard, but here we go. Mouse, he's been good. There is Snacks. They bait him into the angle, but he doesn't manage to escape again. Is Magic's out of Ivy. He's been a menace on both sides of the map. Mir now with the AWP has found another low on HP. Magix is getting surrounded, so eventually he will fall, but it's only going to leave one rifle over to the side of Veggie. Having the best of games so far. It would be one hell of a time to step up. Unfortunately, an after-plant position on the A site, you would need an utter miracle to get anything out of this round.
I'm not sure I believe. I don't think Veggie does either. He's out of there. Looking to save money, swelling on Spirit. They will hunt him down. They're okay with throwing all their players into the blender if it denies this AWP, and no loss of life was required. No sacrificial lambs tossed in. 13-9. And, well, do Illuminar call a timeout, Tom? Like, even if they did, what the hell do they change up? I'm already out of ideas, let alone them.
Yeah, this is the problem. Like, you should be doing a lot better on your CT side in general. And with the manner of which Team Spirit have been able to get into a lot of these rounds, like, firstly, there have been players just slipping up in general. I'm pretty sure Snacks has had 1 kill in this second half, which for your AWPer, it's just never going to work. And why this balance? Getting an almost freebie opener. They're just going brute force in, just walking out onto this A site once again. It's been the battle for this A site for the majority of the game, and every single frag is going the way of Spirit. They were shut down when they attempted these sort of plays versus Apex. They couldn't get past the likes of Jacob. They even mentioned the fact that they were struggling against him. They had Dennis's secondary AWP tearing them apart as well, and so far on the CT side, they have had to deal with absolutely nothing. Snacks finally gets a parting gift, but again, it seems every single time it's Magic's to shut him down. 26 kills for him. He's managed to hit my age in kills this time. And while this is looking out of it, I don't see a way that Illuminar turn this round. They haven't even had a round other than, I guess, the 1v3 that they lost to Some Die Young. Other than that, every single round has been pretty damn dominant for Team Spirit.
It certainly has. And give credit where it's due. As much as we were scratching our heads at some of the decision-making on their CT side, it does feel as if they've made a lot of tweaks and improvements to the T half that we were a little bit confused and baffled and shocked at yesterday. So, fair play to Spirit. Not sure how much of that also falls on Illuminar, though, not quite performing when the tables have turned around. They just have pistols, some Kevlar, looking to try and play for overtime, perhaps, or maybe just throw a wrench in the works and somehow make this work out. Mia up close against PHR. It's not the 5-7, it's the Deagle. More designated for those longer ranges, and Some Die Young will be taking out the Boxall's threat of Veggie. There's the 5-7, and there's 2 headshots. Mao's keeping this alive.
Okay, that came out of absolutely nowhere. He's retrieved an AK as well. As said, he's been the star performer when it comes to this roster so far. Reads in a good position, and Magic's finally, he gets caught out. Jumping in shock. Feels like one of those old Looney Tunes cartoons where he just jumps in the air from surprise. However, Mouse is now looking to try and convert this round. Mir, the only one remaining, a triple for the pole. Got to try and make this 1v2 work. Knows the position of the bomb, but he doesn't know the position of his opponent. A huge round for him, keeping them in this match. And you mentioned, well, maybe there's a chance that they could steal this one away. This 5-7 clip might have just done it.
The thing that concerns me a little bit, though, Tom, is they get around, which is great. Their first round, the CT side, but it's basically down to Maus just putting everybody on his back. And eventually that weight will be too much to sustain pushing forward with. He's got 25 kills, basically single-handedly took that round out. Is that really a play that you can bank that he's going to pull off round after round? Not really. So we need to see, sure, Maus continue to perform, but somebody else to step up and just help the man out.
Oh, PHR this round at least is finally going to win that duel versus Mir. It's not been one that's going particularly well so far. They're actually going to flash back into the angle, and I disbalanced completely unaware. You mentioned they needed a second man to step up, and PHR, well, as we've said, normally the more supportive player, but seems like they're trying to put him in position here. Some Young sneaking his way through, but hey, okay. PHR's doing it all. A third kill in this round, 2 players remaining, and a minute on the clock.
That's more like it. That's what we're looking for. The money still will be in good enough shape for another buy, but Spirit's vast riches are starting to take a bit of an economic downturn. So Illuminar, certainly not out of the woods just yet, but at least moving in the right direction. 35 seconds. Control over the bomb. Bit of utility. Smoke just ahead of Magix if he wants to pick it up, which he will. Actually jumps over it. Not sure if that's a bit of an oversight on Spirit. If he expected, he did take that down for his teammates. Chopper still has enough, close enough proximity though to make the most of that. Picks it up, but actually pulls out the grenade, and it's Maus again. So the full house of kills come in. Illuminar have got 11. They have to deal with another buy, but it does seem like maybe that second wind is now coming into play.
Yeah, and a lot of the battles that they took in this round are actually ones that they've been losing throughout the match so far. Like, we've seen Mir pretty much win that A-main battle almost every single time. The only worry for me is it seems like their aggression on this map is very repetitive. Like, we haven't seen them go for too many B-halls fights, like just take that part of the map out of control. We've only really seen them pressure into A-main. Like, even Ivy's been almost free. Like, a lot of the time you just see Magix walk out and then there's a player waiting to try and hold him into position. It's taken him a single smoke to get that control. So if you're going to lose a round via the one piece of aggression that Illuminar have made, and again, you sort of go back to the previous round where you said, I don't know if they're going to be able to recreate that on a regular basis. Luckily, they've now got a complete change. A double AWP setup thrown in. The pace is slowed down a little bit now by Spirit after a couple of unsuccessful rounds. That could work for them. The worry, though, is that they've now seen, okay, they're fighting for A main. Where else can we take?
It's interesting to see that when one team makes a couple of adjustments, how does the other adapt? How do they evolve? Evolve or die is very much a way to live Counter-Strike by. And now Spirit, who are in box halls, haven't really looked to aggress too heavily on B for a while now. We'll be up against Snacks, who's watching the box hall side with the AWP, and additionally, Veggie, who's behind the spools. So they have both angles covered. Now smokes are being tossed onto A. This is more of a fake, though. This is more of a ruse, and neither of Illuminar are falling for it. Snacks takes the first pick, falls back. And keep in mind that Spirit deployed all of their utility on this outside play. Those smokes will start to dwindle, and although they fake as if they're going back to the A site, try and draw those players away. Illuminar have the player advantage. They don't need to overextend.
I somewhat wonder what the plan is here. I think they're just going to have to try and fight the duels in this situation. A single flashbang, their last piece of utility, and they need an almost instant entry. Veggie, he's waiting on the angle. A free kill on the first. The trade not coming through either. He's found a double. In this situation, goes back for more. It's multi-frag after multi-frag. Maus the first time. We get PHR the second, and now Veggie, he chimes in with a triple of his own. It seems like every member of Illuminar is just putting one round on their back. And well, they only need 4 more.
Well, they're getting it done, Tom. Got to give them credit. I think many people would have wrote them off after the bloodbath that was their CT side, but they said that in terms of individual performance, it wasn't quite cutting it, and we needed to see more from some of these very talented Polish players. They're starting to deliver on that promise. Now, Idis Balance has gone... kept himself the AWP. The rest of the players, though, only have pistols to support him. So there is some threats, Tom. But one of the weaker rounds that Spirit have had, keep in mind, though, how did Illuminar start this comeback? Well, it was with 5-7s. It was with a big play for a mouse. So can Spirit return the favor?
Well, we know that Idis Balance is normally pretty good for these openers. Snacks, a bit more of an unorthodox position, but he predicts it. And although he's tagged from the shot, it will be an opener. PHR, though, getting this AWP in his hands, seems to have made a bit of a change in his style, and he is going to find a trade for them here. Keep things even for now, and while with Idis Balance already low, no other weaponry really in play for Team Spirit, this puts them into a fairly good spot. However, what I will say is there's actually a pretty good opportunity for them to get an afterplant position here. Veggie, he has the rifle, of course, but is a lot further back than he would need to be to deny this plant.
Yeah, the fact that he's on the ladder suggests to me he doesn't even want to fight this. They want to play for the retake anyway. Because obviously you're not going to be able to spread anyone down on the ladder. Your accuracy goes all over the place. So they have effectively given this up to Spirit, who have obliged. They'll take that freebie. Sunday Young takes the head off of Veggie, and Idis Balance, who got the first pick, now comes out with his second. Mouse and Reeds, with only assault rifles, they're now upgraded to the 1-AWP. But it feels like that upgraded weapon is more of a save in mind than actually going for this retake. Now Mia gets up close. Reeds assumed that Mouse had that angle covered. It wasn't the case. And Illuminar not just will concede this round, but unlikely to save any weapons. It's not the end of the world in that respect. They have enough money to go back in. But what will be a real concern is that Spirit now have 3 map points.
We've now seen both teams win a round like that with just a dry push into the B site with like barely any weaponry. I think the difference was that in this case, Idis Balance had an AWP, and I think Snacks, when he did it, had a Glock, which obviously polar opposites in how this game is going, but even still, that they've lost it at a far worse time. Sure, as you mentioned, money's not really an issue for them, so they can just look to get straight back on the horse, but I think we've seen throughout this game switches in momentum. And I wonder if for Team Spirit, that might be enough to get them over the line.
Ooh, nice little boost from Idis Balance. The smoke is going to bypass this for the time being, deciding better of it once the smoke clears. They are quite vulnerable to getting flash and peeked in. That is a round-losing moment for Spirit. So they're playing a little bit more disciplined. I can certainly respect that. The split and pick approach plays out on Ivy. The flashbang was a brutal turn of events for Idis Balance, and it was actually tossed in by Chopper. You could see that he went in just a second before detonation, got blinded, and instantly just got wrecked as a result. That's a bit of communication that could cost them Dia, and Reeks making sure that they will rinse and repeat. They will connect the dots and potentially take a 13th, doing a bit of damage to Chopper, forcing back Spirit. And now, if they are going to get success, they need one of these 3 to come out huge with some entries. Is Sundai Young the man for the job? Well, Snacks basically just gifts him across a free frag, but at least leaves him with a parting gift. The high ordnance of the HE explodes in Mia's face, and Illuminar keep the 2-player advantage in their back pocket.
Oh, good position, but it's gone completely wrong for Veggie. He puts himself in place to find the kills, but doesn't land the shot. Stop Young, he gets a double! He might have just ended this game with that alone. Reet's now left in a 1v2 situation. They don't know where he's coming from, but it doesn't matter. Chopper will land the final headshot, and somehow that's how they clutch things out. It is laughs all round for the side of Team Spirit, as they will take their opponent's map choice.
I just wonder, Tom, if those laughs are to hide a little bit of pain and a little bit of concern. It's more of like a laugh of relief, right? Because there were large parts of this map where, I'm going to be real with you, Spirit looked like they were the worst team. Like, Illuminar had this map in the palm of their hand. I think they're going to be bitterly disappointed at how that CT side went.
Yeah, for sure. Definitely a little bit questionable, but of course, I'm sure there's plenty of rounds for the desk ready to break this one down. They'll be with you after a short break.
Well, it was a slow start for Spirit on train as Illuminar went on a T-side tear, flanking and exploiting gaps in the Russian defense. But Spirit happily found themselves in time to save face and steal Illuminar's map pick. I have to ask, Vu, Illuminar is miles below Spirit in the rankings. Spirit, they play this map quite frequently, so I'm just wondering, in the case of the Russian side, is this just individuals going into the server cold?
You can say they went into the server cold. I think Illuminar went into the server hot. They had a game plan. They knew what they were going for. And you saw a lot of flash plays out mid, Reeds going 3-1 in opening duels in the first 10 rounds, putting the rounds on the board. And he didn't really show up necessarily on the scoreboard, but he really gave them an opening where they started out. I think they were 7-2 at some point.
Yeah, it's pretty dire. I mean, the first 6 rounds were won by Illuminar, Spirit having real trouble retaking the site. But you know what? We have to give credit to Illuminar as well, because they clearly done their homework, Blair. And you've got an example for us to show what we mean.
Oh yeah, like if we just go back to yesterday when we saw that game from Team Spirit on train, or was it a couple of days back? I forget. It's all the same thing right now anyway. They like giving up IV control, right? They don't really contest IV that often. Instead, they play from the outer yard, having someone like maybe Disbalance having his op train into the position of IV, and that's what they exploited. So I have a little bit of a stats helix segment over here, where basically it is going to be the first buy round coming out from the side of Team Spirit after losing the pistol round. And Illuminar, they waste no time. Flashbang over towards outside. We have multiple flashes, smokes coming out, like 6-7 flashes, 2 smokes. Look, keep an eye on this smoke. This one right here blocks out Ivy, and they are so sure there's no one here, and there's no CT available. All 4 CTs are expecting a play from T mains, which doesn't take place. Instead, we see the 3 T slowly sneaking all the way behind. Now, Mir and Balance, they have an idea, they have an inkling that these Ts are sneaking in from behind, but then the timing works out perfectly. Riaz slowly creeps up. He gets a free kill on Balance. And look at this, like the Ts are already here. Mouse is gonna find Mir, and they just get executed one by one. It was a clean round, didn't lose a single player, and that was just a hard counter coming out from the side of Illuminar. And we should take a look at the replay as well. This is what they found. There's no one there watching, which is great. And just to highlight what Vu mentioned, they had a beautiful plan as to what to execute on this T side. And unfortunately, and more surprisingly for me, Spirit never really adapted to it. They didn't really go for the IV control that often, and that's why we had such a dominant lead from the side of Illuminar.
Yeah, it's surprising actually that Illuminar tried to hit the B site so many times in the latter stages of that first half. But I want to ask about the second half now, because if Spirit's defense could be dodgy at times, Illuminar's was a disaster. Vu, what was going on?
Well, I mentioned that Snacks is one of the players on Illuminar that is pretty consistent when they play against better opposition. Someone like Spirit or Gambit, those teams, Snacks is usually the one player you can count on to show up. And you saw early on in the half when he was the sole op presence on the Illuminar side, he was missing shot after shot. There was a round he missed, I think Tom and Vince both noted it. He missed 2 or 3 shots, free kills on back Ivy there. And unfortunately, they couldn't really turn it back up until they finally got an op into PHR's hand as well. They went for the double op. They almost rolled it back, but it was a little bit too little too late there.
Well, hopefully he's had a bit of chance to jump into DM, because it's going to be double AWPs at dawn after the break, because we're heading to Dust 2.